there's a few of these weird adult comics. Oh my lord!
Exactly.
Oh, Jesus. Hello, Drunk Duckers. This is the Drunk Duck QUACKCAST. We're up to QUACKCAST number 432. I'm Ozone Ocean, and with me is Baines. Hello, Baines.
Hello.
Awesome. Just the two of us this time. Pitt and Tance are doing weird stuff together. It would take too long to explain, and it'd be censored anyway. So I mean, we can't get into that. Okay, so they're not here to defend themselves, so we can say anything we want. That's how it works. It's the price you pay. And this
just the bulls today. I don't know. Just the two bulls today.
Exactly. Not the cows? What? I don't.
I guess that would make them cows, which is not accurate at all.
No.
In any way.
They're quite attractive.
So forget it. Yeah, they're quite lovely. Not too cud, as far as I know.
No, they're lovely ladies. So what we're going to talk about today is building people up, being positive, transferring positive energy and, comments and all that kind of stuff. And also getting more readers for your comic, which is a very important thing. So...
yeah, could you edit out that cows comment?
No.
That I suggested.
No.
We're talking about being positive. That might come across as hurtful to some people.
Well, take the good with the bad. I love it.
Taken to be literal. It wasn't meant to be literal. Just saying bulls. It's ridiculous to call human beings bulls.
I thought you were calling us balls as in testicles. So I was highly insulted. Heavily. Because I am a testicle. No, before we get too far into this, I'll bring up the featured comic. So, QUACKCAST has given us the feature this week, and it was Ice Massacre. So take it away, Quai, with Ice Massacre.
Hello, this is QUACKCAST, and the feature I've selected for this week is Ice Massacre by Ice Massacre, and it is rated T for teen. Mermaids have always been the half-human, half-fish sea creatures that lure unsuspecting sailors with their beauty and charm until they show their teeth behind a wicked smile and drag them in the water. The mermaids in Ice Massacre are not very different, with a man at the start suffering a similar fate. This story centers around Mila, a warrior woman who is one of the strongest fighters in her class, with bravery and endurance that outshines her peers. Her only downfall is saving everyone who needs help, which is only a problem if you know what might be lurking in the waters. This webcomic is based on the best-selling Mermaids of Ariana Quai trilogy, written by Tiana Warner. April Pierce is the illustrator, and Rachel Tuna Petrovic is the colorist. The three have come together to make a comic that is very professional and digitally colored. Dive deep and read Ice Massacre by Ice Massacre, rated T.
And that was Quai's feature. Thank you very much for that, Quai. Ice Massacre.
Yeah.
That's where all the ice hockey players and polar bears and penguins and reindeer, they all get together.
That's a big slaughter.
Fight the walrus.
Yeah.
The scourge of the walrus. Alright, so we have the music by Gumwallis, and this week Gumwallis has given us the theme to a comic called Android Blues. Blues.
What a nice comic. Ice Massacre as well.
Android Blues, it sounds like
very cool.
Something from Blade Runner to me. Well, then the comics it does have a little bit of a Blade Runner feel to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Cold blue ancient mechanisms clicking and pulsing, springs contracting, gears turning, cams slipping, servos spinning, capacitors whining. The machine works perfectly and mysteriously. So, take it away, Gumwallis, with Android Blues. And that was the featured music by Gumwallace, Android Blues, which is a comic by Stahlberg, rated A. It's an adult comic, so beware of what you're going to get there. But it's good looking work. Really, really fine. All right, so after that, we have the QUACKCAST in general. So what we're going to talk about is being positive in comments and building people up, which is what you should try and do. And also to get more readers on your comic, what you do there. And maybe even the idea of upgrading Drunk Duck. We've left it a while and that should get that going, but we'll have to raise some money, so we'll have to talk about how to do that. So...
Yes. Money.
Exactly. We need more of it all the time. Constant supply.
Yeah.
Well, positive comments. It's so good to have comments that are nice on your comic, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, any kind of comments are great. Of course, we want to see like people that are looking at our stuff and like actually take the time to say something. Oh, it's great. I see almost never. I know it's happened, but on the Duck, at least from my perspective, it's happened so rarely that it like becomes noteworthy. Like most people are like, if they're criticizing, it's constructive, or it's like, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing necessarily that people like. I know there's been some situations where there's criticisms and they're honest. I think the critiques were in good faith, at least the ones I saw.
Okay.
But it can really set people off. You know, it can be upsetting to people and stuff like that.
Yeah, when delivering criticism, that's an interesting thing. You have to do it in a clever way. You just can't be mean about it. A good example of that, a great example, actually, is a comment I made on Android Blues. Just recently, I've noticed it because it's a really good-looking, nice comic. It's A-rated, so it can't be featured, unfortunately. But, yeah, I was looking at it, and I saw a great picture of Mecha, which he'd drawn in his comic. But I noticed that it had some really big guns on it, like big machine guns, and it was drawn so well, like it could almost be a real thing. But it had the guns in a flexible mount, and they were too close to each other, which would mean if they wanted to be flexible and, move around like guns do in a, like on the front of a Apache helicopter, you've got a machine gun there that moves up and down and around. Or, gun pods where you see them go like in a turret or something like that. So It's got those, but they were too close together, which would mean if this was a real thing, when they tried to move around, the back end of them, which is where all the big machinery is, sucking in all the bullets and making the bolt go backwards and forwards and all this, they'd bump into each other as they tried to move. Like, it's hard to explain, but it's like oars on a boat, on a rowing boat. both the handles can bump into each other if they're too close. And
right.
It's like that, these guns poking through there. So I made a comment about that, but I didn't say, your things are too close, your thing would never work. Because that would just be needlessly mean for a start. And I'm ignoring the fact that the reason why I'm making that comment, and the reason why I made, I'm thinking about that, is that I was so impressed by how well this mecha was drawn. And the only reason I thought to make that criticism was because this looks fantastic, but that aspect looked problematic and was drawn so well that I actually thought about that aspect.
Yeah, exactly.
So I made sure to have all that in the comment, that I loved the mecha design, and I just saw that as a possible issue. But only because, I was so enamored of this artwork that he had created. So I think that's an important thing. So when you say, if you are going to make a criticism, you do it in a way that explains why you even bothered to do it, which is you enjoyed the work so much that you want to help them improve, or you just want to fix this thing. You loved everything except just that one little thing you've spotted they could possibly improve upon.
And that would almost always be the case. Like, as soon as you started telling this story, like, I was thinking that, like, it would have to be worth critiquing, to bother saying anything. Like, if it was all just terrible, you wouldn't have bothered at all. You wouldn't have read it, probably. Or if you did, you wouldn't have bothered saying anything, because it's like, well, it's not at that level,
Yeah.
So
where do I start?
That almost always, I think, yeah, exactly. Where do I start? Like, most things are working well, and the comic is working for someone. Generally, that's why they would point out the problem.
And too often,
it's a compliment, really. Yeah. Almost, like, I would say the majority of the time, for sure.
It is, and too often we just think, that's left unsaid. They already know how good the work is, so I'm not gonna mention. I'm not gonna sugarcoat stuff. I'll just talk about this thing because they already know how good that is, and that's just blowing smoke up their ass. No, it's not. No one knows how good their stuff is automatically. No matter how good you are, you still think it's a bit crap. And yeah, it always helps to have that kind of couch things in a positive way. So yeah, be careful about that. All of us are prone to hating ourselves and our work. So yeah, just always be aware of that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I definitely feel strange sometimes about complimenting a really great comic or really great artwork, because it's what you said. Like, it's like they don't need to hear this. Like who am I to say this? But it's like, well, no, they would love to hear that, probably.
Exactly, and even professionals. Obviously, you don't want to be fawning and say, "Oh my God, I love your work." Just be honest about why you like it and what you like about it, and get to the point. But obviously, professionals are going to be less interested in hearing your criticisms.
Yeah, you might not hear back from them. Yeah. I actually wrote to a comic book creator. It's the first time since I was a kid. I just sent them an email about how much, what an impact this comic made on me. How blown away I was by the last page. Never heard back, but still.
Well, if they got it, I'm sure they're they were complimented by it, and they're probably not really set up in order to be able to reply to people.
Oh yeah, who knows if they even read it, or if they even if they're set up to do that. Exactly.
Yeah, even mentally set up, because they don't, have a forum where they can have direct feedback, like in comments on a comic. They might think, what should I do if I contact this person? Will they know my address, or will they? That's possible. I don't want to initiate social interaction with a stranger, because there's all that separation that they have that we don't doing comics. So web comics. So, yeah.
This is slightly off subject, but it's quick. I actually wrote to Roger Ebert, the film critic, one time.
Oh, wow.
Because I read one of his reviews and it made me laugh. Like, I literally laughed out loud.
Huh.
and I read it. It was so damn funny and great. And I'm a big fan of his. And he actually wrote me back.
Oh, that's awesome!
Friggin' Roger Ebert, dude. I was like stunned. Yeah, frame that email.
Oh,
I probably still have it.
Wow.
But I thought that was amazing.
It's lovely when creators take the time to get back to you.
Someone on that level, especially.
Yeah, high level.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
But even on Drunk Duck, where we have with the reply feature on our comments now, and it's so good when you have the author of the comic getting back to you, and it really increases that connection with you to them, to their work, because you might say, oh, now I was really disturbed by what happened on this page, because you're into the story, or I really liked what you did in panel 3, and they'll get back and say, oh, well, thanks for that, or it's going to take a darker turn from now on. So you have that, it gets you more invested in the story, and it's more likely that you will come back and comment if you have that interaction. So it's a really good idea to encourage that and reply to your readers.
Yeah.
Do you reply to your readers?
I think it's a good idea. I feel weird saying this out loud. I've probably said it before anyway. But yeah, I sort of decided I'm going to reply to every comment that I see. Like, now that we have notifications, I guess I see them all. But in the day, I might have missed some.
Yeah.
Unless it's just like a series of symbols that's trying to be an emoji, then sometimes I have no idea what to say. But like 99.9% of the time, I would reply. If they said something really insulting and nasty, non-constructive, I probably wouldn't reply, although I might. But generally, like I'm like, yeah, I reply to every comment. It's an effort, to leave a comment. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good to show your appreciation. Yeah, just for that, not just of the initiating social contact and maintaining that social contact. So deepening it. So you'll have people coming back. So there's all sorts of reasons for doing it. But yeah. Generally, though, being positive about people or trying to transfer positive energy, to use that hippie kind of parlance there, is a great way to build people up, get them happy about what they're doing, get them to, remember the interaction as well. But also just keep everything on a higher positive level. It also, if your approach is on that kind of really positive level, that will also make people want to come back and talk to you about, things or your work, or they'll remember you more likely. So like our other subject is to get in more readers. So if you're commenting on people's comments in a really nice high energy kind of way, the actual author and other people who are reading the comments are more likely to come back and check you out, because it's just, it's that friendliness that's embodied in that level of positivity and enthusiasm. And they'll want to see where that comes from. So, yeah, it's a good strategy all around. Not strategy that makes it sound cynical, but it's just a good idea to be positive, be friendly, and try and have that aura around you.
Do you reply to your comments?
Oh, I do. Sometimes I miss them for whatever reason, but I try and reply to everyone, even if it's only a symbol.
Yeah, a number.
Yeah, it can be hard sometimes, really hard to reply to some things, but, just a simple thanks. It's all it's needed.
I think that's true, yeah.
Yeah. So when in doubt, just say thanks. So...
When people understand the story and they comment on something on that level, man, that's just the best.
Yeah, that's
they're following along, cool. And even at the highest, sort of referencing stuff from previous pages and previous, moments. It's like, oh my god, they remember. That's so cool.
Exactly. Or they bloody see things that are coming up and you think, damn it.
I get that quite a bit, yeah. By a handful of commenters, a lot of times I'm like, oh, I know where this is going.
Yes. Exactly.
I don't mind that either. I'm okay with that.
You get that on Bottomless Waitress a lot too.
Yeah.
Damn people seeing ahead. Oh, so being positive. So we'll just segue into our idea of getting more readers. Now this is everybody's thing, isn't it? And when you're doing stuff, you want as many people as possible to see it, which is the whole point of doing a webcomic. Isn't it?
Yep.
You want it out there. You want people to see. You don't want to be just working, screaming into the void, pissing into the wind, and having, no feedback whatsoever. So you want your feedback. You want your nice comments. It's the fuel that keeps you going. So how do you get more readers? Well, webcomic sites like Drunk Duck, ones like Tapas and Webtoon, Comic Fury, Comic Genesis, there's a whole lot of us out there. We each have internal systems where we try and drive more people to your comic. That's done on Drunk Duck. That's done through your profile. People can click on that. It's done mainly through the front page, where if you update, you appear on the front page, through features, which is a special thing we do for you. We might feature your webcomic. There's Quail's Random. That shows old comics randomly. They'll pop up there. There's the search feature. Comics get listed generally depending on their popularity, which is interesting. So that's in the whole search section if you go through that. So yeah, there's all this internal stuff. The problem with that is you're vying for a piece of the same pie as everyone else, because we've got thousands of comics on the site and many updating at the same time, and that's the same as Comic Genesis, Comic Fury, Webtoon, Tapastic, whatever. There's a limited piece of that pie for everyone. So if you want to get really popular, if you want to get more viewers, don't rely on that. I've heard so many times people complaining, saying, I've topped out, like on Webtoons or something. I've topped out on my number of subscribers. What do I do? Or in this webcomic site, I only get so many readers. Oh, it's not fair. It's just like, limited returns. And I'm thinking, don't you realize how these sites work? All these other comic artists are also on the site. Everyone wants readers. Why are they just going to go to you? Why are you the most important one? Well, what about the thousands of other people? So the other part of that is you need to be proactive in getting people in. There are some ways you can do that within the site. Okay, so a most valuable way, a most likely way is to comment on other people's work. So if you're positive and friendly and you become like a solid presence, you're more likely to get other people checking you out and wanting to see what your comic's about. Never comment about, check out my work, it's this and that, because that'll get people hating you and you're likely to get ignored forever if you do that. So when you're commenting, comment about the work you're looking at, not about your own stuff. So that's one way.
The great thing about doing that, about just commenting, is that in this world, they can click your name and then they can click your comic. It's very easy to trace you from your comment back to your comics, so you don't really need to say, like, check out my thing. And like you said, that can be off-putting.
Exactly. If
you're out there doing it, it's very easy generally to get back, to trace you back to what you want to be seen.
Exactly. They can look at your profile, look at the comics you've done, and your profile is a little bit of space you have to talk about yourself. So on there you can link images, you can put images up, and you can say, I do this work, or this is me. You can put a photo of yourself on, and help to try and attract readers to look at your work because of that. So that's where you put all your personality and your self ads for yourself. Talk about that stuff. So comments are a good way of doing that. So you'll get the internal traffic built up on the site in that way. Other ways of getting internal traffic from the site, you can have lots of comments on the forums and news posts. Wherever you can comment on the site, you can do that, where there's traffic. Obviously, you're going to be a lot more visible if you comment on the top 10 comics, on the most popular ones. So that's a good strategy, but that's a little bit cynical. I would say only comment on the comics that are updating, obviously, recently. So that's why there's obviously going to be more people looking at them. But the ones you like. So it's not going to be any good if you're just following something because it's popular, because you want people to check you out. And you're not really enjoying what you're seeing there, and you're just sort of, your comments are rote.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That insincerity can kind of start to come through.
It can. It's obvious, and again,
it's very obvious.
So comment on things you like, and that will get you more into it, and you'll enjoy actually coming back and commenting. So yeah, that's a good tip. If you're commenting on the forums, you can have a little link underneath your name. You can have a link banner. And that can help advertise you again. So that's a good idea. Good way to do it. There's less traffic in the forums though. So how useful that is really depends. The bigger things though is jumping the queue a bit is like if you become a Patreon of the site, a patron of the site. You get your link on the front page, which can help get people in. A bit of a trickle here and there, but every bit helps. You also get mentioned in weekly news posts if you're a Patreon. So, yeah, you've got a link in those. If you pay a little bit more as a Patreon, then you can get a forum sponsored by your name, and you get an image link on news posts, on the Saturday and Friday news posts. And that can help even a lot more, so it'll get people in. So that's good. Those are good methods. And then jumping the queue even more is advertising on the site. So you might have seen that. So $2 a day thing. That ad goes on every single page of the Drunk Duck website. The Duck website. So that will raise your profile considerably, and you will get more views. So that's a good way to do it. The most popular ad to do is usually the top banner. So that's should be your first port of call. So yeah,
people, it makes it easy to find you, easy to know you're there.
Yeah, and it supports the website. It helps us keep, paying the bills. So yeah, being a Patreon, and you get videos and that we do every week. You can see those, and as well as having the benefits of advertising. But this is not just an ad for paying us money. Advertising.
Really, it is that, but it's not just that.
Yes, advertising really does help, and that's a really good tip. So you're still dealing with the pool of internal traffic here, but you are, jumping the queue a bit because you're paying extra money and you're having your ad put on every page of the site, which means that's a lot more exposure than just a link on the front page. It's a lot more exposure than, the recently updated thing or whatever. So that can really, really help you. But in addition to that, bringing in people from outside the site can even more massively boost you. So I'm talking paid ads on sites. You can do that. If you don't want to spend money, which most people don't, there's a lot of free ways of doing it as well. Social media, you can build up a social media presence through Tumblr is less of a good thing now, but Instagram is a great way to do it. Twitter, of course, it's a perennial way. Facebook, DeviantArt, and they can also be used for displaying your comics, but not as good. They are definitely, none of those sites are as good as a proper dedicated comic site like Drunk Duck or Tapas Webtoons or whatever. So those should be your first protocol for actually putting your comic up, and just use the other ones as a preview. Really, don't have that as your main sites. That's yeah, not as good as it can be. So yeah, there's those things. Getting people from outside is a good thing because that will also get in traffic to the webcomic site you're a part of, and that can actually help the webcomic site. Like Junk Duck, we always need people. There are other ways of doing it, like, you can be collaborative, not only with, you can be collaborative anywhere. So I'm talking outside of the Drunk Duck site or whichever comic host you use. And if you're collaborating with someone who's popular, then that will get people in to look at your work. Also fan art as well. You can also do that within the site you're using, Drunk Duck, Webtoons, Tapas, whatever. Look for people who are, you get on well with, or, popular people, whatever. And maybe give them fan art, maybe try and do some kind of collab work with them that can give you more views. So that's a good idea. Yeah, collaborations, that's always a good thing. Yeah, fan art, I talked about that. What else? Top Web Comics, which is a voting site, Comic Rockets, these are listing sites, voting. Those are good ways of doing it. Again, free. Review sites, if someone is like a YouTuber or something like that, and they're interested in reviewing your work, or you can offer it to be reviewed, or you can do some fan art. Podcasters as well, if you can become mention on a podcast or get interviews. Like if you want to ask for an interview, you can ask for an interview here. That could help you a little bit. We don't have that much of a listenership, but, it can help you a little bit. And bigger podcasts and things like that, that can really help you as well. So,
try to get on with Joe Rogan.
Yeah, God, yes.
He's got a very popular,
Exactly. Or, you can, if you're a crazy right-winger, Alex Jones, you can...
Well, he's not allowed to be on the internet anymore, but...
You can go for miles. What I'm talking about there is the idea of external traffic. So don't rely solely on the pool of people on the site that you're hosting your work. Whether that's DeviantArt or whatever. Because there are limited returns. You top out, basically. There's only so much. Even when you're doing extra stuff, like the commenting or all that kind of stuff, you'll top out eventually. So you'll have to move up and try and get external people in, and that will help.
Yeah.
So have you got any more tips about that kind of stuff?
Oh, God. Well, those are all great to me. That, makes a lot of sense. Like if you're out there sort of commenting on stuff and having conversations in the areas that your comic is about, and people who you assume have the same interests as you, or the stuff that appears in your comic, to sort of have those conversations without shilling, you already said. Like if you're in there, sort of getting those people, engaging with those people and stuff like that. That makes a lot of sense. I don't do any of this, so I feel weird even saying it. But,
well, it's the same with me. I've been doing these, webcomics for years and years, and in a lot of ways, my interests have moved on a little bit. So I'm not just focused on the popularity of my webcomic anymore. I still really love drawing and doing webcomics, but I'm not so focused on having my webcomic as my only interest and, wanting to be behind it and build it up. But I do know how to do that because I admin the site and see how millions and millions of people have been doing that over the years I've been on the site, and have done a bit of it myself in the past. So I do have experience to offer. But even though I'm not so much into doing that myself, because that takes, honestly, it takes a lot of work to do that. It does.
Yeah.
And if your attention is spread a bit more thin, like mine is, managing the site and, doing podcasts and doing all sorts of stuff, it's very hard to keep up with that. And because I admin a site, I'm a lot more visible. It's a lot more easy for me to get feedback on my work than a lot of other people when, all they're doing is a comic. So it's not so important for me to be chasing that. But I do know how it feels, and even though, I've had popular work on the internet for a long time, and it has been a lot more popular than it is now at various stages, I still do appreciate comments like everyone else does, and I don't think I ever won't. They are always the fuel, aren't they? That creative fuel. No matter how many you've had, thousands and thousands of it, it always is appreciated. So,
well, I get about 1 million unique views a day.
Uniques, yeah.
1 million uniques.
So Baines is like the heavy of the heaviest hitters. He's the sumo mega man. He's
it's almost embarrassing. You'd never know it because there's only a handful of comments, but I think most of them are just quiet. Don't look into this, anyone, because it's not true at all.
We call him Mr. Iceberg because he's only the tip.
That's right. It's
just
all
the tip.
No, but I'm the same. Like I don't have a huge focus on like expanding readership or getting tons of views or like anything like that. Really, I mean, it's nice, but it's still like getting that handful of comments from the regular people who read is awesome. If I wasn't getting that, I don't know. Wait, let me back up. If I wasn't getting that, I would do some of these strategies and like try to get at least a few people who look at it and are into it enough to comment on it. And I would keep plugging away at it and try to get it known somehow. Personally, I would do it in ways that are free or very low cost. Just put a little time in to get to that point because of it's worth doing when you're not there yet where you want to be to get it there. And you can do it. But, I mean, for me, like I sort of have those few comments and I'm pretty happy with that. I'm trying to get better at writing, get a little better at drawing. And that's kind of what I care about. But still, it does sort of make it it gives you a lift to get those comments. I don't know if I would keep doing it if I wasn't getting those few comments. It's kind of like, that's enough to keep me kind of going.
Exactly.
At a snail's pace. At a very slow snail's pace, but going nonetheless.
You do need that boost in order to keep working. You need to know people.
But you can get yourself to that boost. I went a long time with 0 comments. Yeah. Just like kept at it, because I wanted to do it.
Yeah, you can keep going without it, but it doesn't make it easier. I suppose counter to that, you don't want to become reliant on it. So when you don't have any comments, you think, "Oh God, I'm useless. I'm nothing. How do I get more?" It's not right. Then you have your self-esteem is pegged to how many comments you get.
Yeah, the "how do I get more" part is okay. That's good. Yeah, but not the "I'm useless. I suck." Like we all feel that way about ourselves. I would think at least sometimes. I mean, I definitely do. Yeah. Like, and it's backed up by some of the birthday cards I get. So, that's another story. Yeah. Well, yeah. But I agree with that completely. Like talking about being nice in comments, like if you can and being positive, that's great. To me, like to creators, I would say, be okay with getting critical comments. They'll usually be constructive. It'll almost always be because your comic is worth the criticism, so you're doing something right. If someone can look at it and point out some flaws. And even if someone says, "This is terrible, I hate it," you got to be able to handle that. It's very important, especially if you're in the wider internet world, if you're like going out there on YouTube and a more open kind of forum than on a smaller site. It can happen anywhere, but if you're in the wilds of the internet, you're going to get that, man. You're going to get nasty stuff. Some people are just doing it for fun. Some people, hate themselves or they feel bad, and so they spread the misery. Yeah. We've all been online. We know what it is. Like, you got to be able to handle that and not let it ruin you,
Yeah.
That's very important. Boundaries.
Yeah. negative stuff gets exaggerated in importance. You might have 99.99 good comments and just that 1.1%.
You won't be able to let go of that one exactly, for whatever the reason that is.
Yeah. And you want to hunt them down and destroy their entire family. That's how it happens.
It can really, man, if it can get under your skin if you're not kind of ready, or you don't have the perspective and the skill to say, like, this is not, like, I'm not letting this in. Like, just let it. Well, a friend of my dad's like puts it in the way, like, oh, if someone says something you don't like, just like let it roll right off your back. You know? That's a sort of like earthy wisdom kind of way of putting it. And it's true, you know. You just like say, like, this isn't. I don't let this in. Like, you know, I'm not letting this in. Just let it roll. Just let it roll off. Keep doing it. You know, keep doing your thing.
Exactly.
Super important.
Exactly.
It's like, what, you're gonna let like any jerk on the street or online, like, let them decide what you're not gonna do? You know?
Yeah, let them ruin your day.
Yeah, or ruin your future. You know, like, you're gonna stop doing what could be great and what could be something that you love doing for years. You know, I don't make any money doing comics, but I've been doing them for years now, and I like love it. It gives me so much pleasure to do it, and I wouldn't want to let like some rando wreck it, you know, take it away. Like, no way, man.
Exactly. Well, the other thing I want to get into now, we've just got a couple of more minutes, is I think it's about time we went forward with upgrading the site or adding some new features. So, to that end, we'll have to raise some money somehow. So, I don't know how I'm going to do that, how we're going to do that, but we'll probably need about, I don't know, probably about $6,000, $7,000 in order to do a big thing, like to make the site more friendly on mobile screens, add features like better page organization, threading of comments, more. Also, being notified of replies to news post web comments, and maybe likes on comments, things like that, just to increase the social interactivity and make it more intuitive and more interesting for people. And because it really helps with, maintaining a friendly community environment when you've got stuff that facilitates that, like the reply features on comments does. So we're notified of replies, and we can, do replies. So those are the kind of things. It'd be interesting to know if anyone has any other suggestions, because obviously we want to do features that people want to have. Different colors for the forums, for example, or different colors for the entire site, bigger thumbnails on the front page of the website. We have a great design proposal by Emma Clare, who does our Friday news post. She's already done that, so we have a good kind of look and a good kind of template for that. But I'll put that out for people to see again. So we want to add things that people will be willing to pay for, because we've got to get the money somehow. I could pay for all the features myself, but that would just be me throwing money away. I'd prefer it if it was sort of a popularly funded thing, because I wouldn't be getting that money back ever.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't make sense. A donation is the best way to do it.
So if we could get 1,000 people to give $1,000, my math right on that?
Exactly, yeah. Then we can retire and just shut down the site.
There you go. And move it all over to Smack Jeeves.
Yeah. Oh, that's the one I haven't even talked about. Smack Jeeves. Yeah. Geez, I've been mentioning bloody tappers and webtoons that don't need the extra traffic. And there we are, Smack Jeeves, who's been around forever. Not as long as Drunk Duck. Drunk Duck, along with Comic Genesis, which was Keen Space, have been around the longest of these web hosts. And no one else that I know of has been around as long, and we're talking years before webtoons and tappers, Comic Fury and all
Johnny
that.
Come Latelys.
Yeah. Exactly. What do they think they're doing? Trying to butt in on.
You're in my house.
Yes, exactly.
No, bless them. They're doing great stuff, I guess.
Yeah, learning from our mistakes.
Yeah.
Is they're like Elon Musk to our Apollo 11.
Great. Oh, 11. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, that's what we'd like to do. We'd like to have some upgrades to the site, so we've got to work out ways to raise a lot of money, at least about $6,000 or $7,000 American dollars, which isn't really a big amount as far as fundraisers go. There's people who have, they've done just one comic book and they've raised like $30,000-$40,000 for that, and we're not asking for that. We just want enough to pay our programmer and our programmer and an interface designer to do the work at cut down costs. Basically, they're working at like the minimum. We want good kind of people working on it. They're not crappy programmers, but we're not going for anything extravagant. We're just having people who just know how to do the work and get it done. And for about $7,000, we can have that. So, yeah.
So we're going to start a forum post maybe to gauge interest and see what people want and are interested in.
Exactly, yeah. Bit of forum posts, news posts.
So on the duckwebcomics.com,
Facebook,
maybe
Twitter. Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
All the duck areas where you engage with ducks.
Exactly. Ponds,
Yeah. Just go to a pond and talk about what you like to see and
Chinese restaurants. A bit late then, but you can.
Yeah. Well,
have a bit of a chat to your Peking duck. Yeah. That's what we'll do. We get people on board and ask about ways of earning money. Probably a Kickstarter or something like that, or direct donations. I don't know. We've got to see how we can do it, because I think Drunk Duck is worth it. We've been around a long time.
Yep.
And we're worth that little bit of support, I think. All right.
Perfect.
Well, this has been our QUACKCAST number 432. I've been Ozone Ocean, and you've been...
I've been Baines.
You've been our Peking Duck. All right.
A Peking man!
All right. See you later.
All right.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, Bella.
I gotta pee again.